Hey y'all, welcome back to Susie on the Farm. I'm Susie if you're new here. And last week I did some upcycled vintage finds for organizing my craft room. Y'all, since then I have not been able to sleep. I have got so many ideas for what I want to do in this room, just exploding in my mind. I'm going to share a few more of those with y'all today. And we're also going to do a furniture flip on a freebie that I've had in my basement for years. I can't wait to get started. I hope you guys are excited. Now let's get going. Okay, so looking at this pretty closely, it's easy to see why it's a freebie. I don't care about any of that. I'm not going to be selling it. I need a functional, sturdy place to set up my sewing machine because I'm using it regularly now and I want to keep it set up, and this is going to be perfect in my craft room. The first thing I need to do, as always, is give it a good clean, and during the cleaning process, that's when it's easiest to find out what actually needs repaired. Now, I did haul this from the basement, so I kind of have a pretty good idea. The only real problems with this is veneer peeling. And like I said, I'm not worried about that. I will come up with a solution because I am going to be painting this one. As you can see, the wood is in pretty rough shape and I love to paint furniture. So I'm going to go ahead and get this cleaned and make those repairs. So two of these drawers have a little bit of veneer missing. I'm not worried too much about making it perfect, but I am going to just put some clay in those places. It'll dry quick. I can sand it and paint right over it. I also need to remove the hardware because it doesn't have hardware everywhere, and I have tons of hardware. So I'm going to remove that hardware and I'm going to add in some air dry clay and some glue into those spots. I'll put that in my stash of hardware because you never know when I might need just a little vintage pull for one thing. You could also do this with wood filler, but I ran out. I just did a couple of furniture pieces and used every bit of the wood filler that I had and forgot to get more. But no more than this is. It will take very little clay to fill that in. To paint our sewing cabinet, I want to use milk paint, and I had a little bit left of this sample of Sweet Pickins. This came from one of Sonnet's Maker's Box, and it's the color denim, which is beautiful, but I'm wanting something a little bit darker. So I'm also going to take some Fusion Night Swim. It's like a navy blue, and I'm going to do equal parts both those. I don't want a ton of chipping on this, so I am going to use a little bit of Ultra Grip bonding agent as well. Let's do 2 parts denim to 1 part Night Swim. I'm going to use up all this denim. And if I mix up too much, that's okay. I've got lots of little things I can paint. All right, so we put all that in there. But I have to mix up enough because if I don't, I might not be able to match it perfectly. So let's go ahead and do 2 of this. Whoops, it's much darker. All right, I think that'll be enough. So milk paint comes in a powder form, as you can see. And it lasts forever until it's mixed with water. We did 4 of those. So we're gonna do 4 waters. Well, almost 4. I want it a little thick. Here we go. I'm gonna mix this for a couple of minutes, and then I'm gonna add probably a couple of things of the Ultra Grip. And then I'm gonna let it sit for 10 to 15 minutes before I paint with it. Okay, my milk paint has been sitting. It's about the consistency of a melted milkshake. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Look at that perfect blue. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started painting. And milk paint's very easy to paint with because it is so thin. Squeezy, please quit moving the camera. She's rubbing up against the camera like it's my legs. Now remember, I did put the Ultra Grip in this, so we're probably not going to get a lot of chipping, and that's good. I don't want a ton of chipping. Kind of going, I do want a vintage feel, but I'm also going for kind of a vintage industrial. And that's why I'm using a lot of the blues. And you'll see when I do the makeover, and the blacks and the grays, some wood tones. I'm so excited. As soon as I get this video recorded, I'm going to start cleaning out. Okay, these are all of the little clothespins. I got these on Amazon, a huge pack a long time ago, and I did a lot of upcycles with them. But I'm trying to think of ways to display my ribbons besides this drawer, and I'll throw a picture in here and show y'all the current situation of my ribbons, and I thought these would be a good thing. So I'm going to use some of this milk paint and just go ahead and paint all of these natural wood with this blue milk paint. I just think it'll be more attractive when I wrap my lace around it or my ribbon, and then I'll put it in a glass container rather than just this natural wood. Make it look a little bit more vintage. Before I put ribbon on these, I need to seal them. They're not fully coated, as you can see. Some of them aren't even dry. Anyway, I just need to seal them up and let that dry before I wrap ribbon around them. And I'm going to use some clear wax. This is some of the Fusion Scented, the Fields of Lavender. Love this stuff. It smells so good. Works just like regular clear wax, except for it's got a beautiful scent to it. Over the years, I have collected and sold so many of these, what are these, bobbins, vintage bobbins, and these spools. Well, I've been looking for ways, like I said, to store my ribbons and my lace, and I come across these pictures on Pinterest that I fell in love with. Currently, though, these are the only vintage ones that I have here in the store, and I'm like, well, why can't I just make something like that? It would still look just as cool. I can fix it up and make it look pretty vintage. This one has had a DIY on it when I got it. But yeah, surely I can come up with something. So what I did is I went through my salvage. Actually, I picked these coasters up today. They're just, there's some Dolly Parton coasters. They already have a hole in them. And I have these spindles that I really can't use much for anything else. But with ribbon wrapped around them, be fine. So I'm just going to paint these. And, whoops, screw them onto this spindle. And I have 2 of them and 4 of these, so that's perfect. And you could also use like the wood round ornaments. I happen to be out of those. I used them all this year. And I'm not going to get any more for a while. So, or any kind of wooden coaster or just any kind of small wood round would work. I also had this spindle, kind of, or dowel rod or something like that, and I have this lone knob, so I thought I might screw it into there to mimic something like this. I mean, it's not the same thing, it's not vintage, but I can stain this or not, or just wrap ribbon around it, and it'll be pretty displayed, and I can see all my pretty ribbons, and it'll make, you know, grabbing them so much easier, picking them out if I can see them and they're not in this mess. So to begin with, I'm going to go ahead and give these a coat of paint. I'm not going to paint these. I kind of, you know, they're not really going to show once you get everything on there. Actually, I really just need to paint the top of these. Yeah, I think I'll just paint the top of these and leave this natural. I don't know. We'll see. And what color should I paint them? We could just use some dark and decrepit liquid patina. I think I will try that. I'm going to put some paint on here first just to give it something to grab to. Let's do some black.
This should be pretty easy.
All right, these are dry. I am going to go over them with some dark and decrepit just to give them that old wood look. And then I'm going to go over this too. I don't like the color of this wood. Not that it's going to show once I wrap it, but just darken it up a little bit. I mean, it's not the same, but it will look cool. And for this, I just drilled a hole and put that in it. It's a little long, but that's okay.
This turned out to be such a beautiful way to display lace. I need to come up with a lot more, but I can't wait to get these displayed in my craft room. Okay, so the paint is dry on my cabinet, and now I'm going to take some 220 grit sandpaper and just go over all the edges. And I didn't have any chipping or cracking, and that's good. I wanted this to be a pretty good smooth. And then I'm also going to go over it with a really fine grit sandpaper just to smooth it out. And I wish that y'all could feel how smooth this milk paint is once you do this. It just feels so good to the touch. Okay, I have sanded and got everything ready. Everything's dry. The last thing I need to do is seal this, and I'm going to use that Fusion Lavender Furniture Wax to do that. After that sits for a few minutes, I'll buff it all back, and then you'll get to see the final reveal. This project's going to be super easy. I always pick up anything storage like this. This one was nice and big and black and had the dividers. It'll be perfect for like my paint stirring sticks and my paint brushes or maybe scissors. It's a nice sturdy metal, so it'll hold about anything. So, but I do want to make it pretty. I cleaned it up already. And I'm just going to stick a transfer on each side. That way, either way it's turned, it'll be pretty. So, I don't know. These are just scrap transfers. This probably came from Menagerie. Both of these, actually, I think, probably came from Menagerie. And I do have those in stock. It's a beautiful transfer with bird cages and floral. Only prep needed for this was just cleaning, and then I'm just going to slowly rub this transfer on. I'm not even, since this is going to be for my craft room, I'm not even going to bother sealing this. I've used these transfers on many things for myself and not sealed them, and they're still on there really well. Perfect. So easy and beautiful. I'm just going to put this floral on the other side, and this will be done. Pick up these wine racks. This one's especially good because it's metal and sturdy, and I thought I would use this one in my craft room storage because we all have things that come like in tubes. This was a piece of one, but I use a lot of these shelf liner papers, and I thrift them when I can find them, and I cover my workspace with them to protect my table. So those kind of things. Also, I do a lot when I can find rolling pins. I pick them up to upcycle them. So they'll be great for storing that too. This one, I don't like the style of. So, of course, we're going to upcycle it today. And this kind of faux rust always bleeds through when I paint it. So for this one, I'm actually going to take it outside and I'm going to spray paint it first. I'm going to do a white spray paint and then I'll do some dry brushing over this. And also, I'm still trying to use up all of my transfer scraps. And I have 2 of these Eiffel Towers that I've never found a use for. And I think that they're almost a perfect fit for the sides of these. So I'm just going to go ahead and use them on the side of this. This is for my craft room. I won't be selling it. And I think the Eiffel Towers will be a perfect addition. So first of all, I'm going to take this outside and spray paint it. Then we'll come back and finish it up. I was right about the bleed through. I had to do 3 coats and there's a little bit showing there, but I'm not going to worry about that. But what I am going to do is dry brush over these details and all the edges and everything before I put the transfer on. And for that, I'm going to use Bellwood. I just had a little bit left in this container, and while I'm cleaning up my craft supplies, I'm also going through and trying to use a lot of my nearly empty paint. So to dry brush, I wiped a lot of that off. Then I'm just gonna lightly do it a little heavier on this. Just lightly go over all that detail. Looks like I probably won't even have to dip my brush a second time. So this is really not going to be white. It's kind of going to be green with a white background. So I'm doing a heavy dry brush on this top. Now, which do we want to be the front? I don't guess it matters. And then I'm also going to just go over the whole thing and just dry brush some of this green so it's not just a stark white. All right, for the sides also, do a little bit of this. Most of this is going to be covered with transfer. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry just a couple of minutes and then we'll put the transfers on. I decided before I put the towers on that I would put some floral underneath. So again, just going through my scraps here, and I cover most of the side with this floral. Trying to decide if I want another flower, and I think I do. I ended up layering lots of flowers underneath and on top of the towers. Like I said, I have tons of these scraps, so I'm just going to use them up, and this turned out so beautiful. And I cannot wait to get it displayed in my craft room, just like all the other ones. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you have enjoyed today's makeovers and storage solutions for your craft room. I'm excited to say that once I'm finished here, I'm about to go start redoing my craft room. So be sure you're following along so you can see the big reveal next week. See y'all later.